Hello, everybody. Welcome to Slogan's Rock and Metal Extravaganza. This is our makeup video for Never Surrender, as Logan was having some issues and he couldn't, his camera wasn't working for that episode, so he's going to do his Never Surrender and Narnia go around now. So take it away.
All right. Well, I wrote down it's the band's sixth album, released on Attic, I said, in 1982. Oh, messing up still?
A little bit. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. Am I back now?
Yep.
Reached number 26 on the Billboard album charts. And All the Way, World of Fantasy, and Never Surrender were charted fairly high on the top rock track singles charts at 2, 3, and 23. And it got gold in both the USA and Canada. So, and we got Too Much Thinking is the first track. We get kind of like some news clips before the band comes blasting in. It's got an awesome tight rhythmic bass and drums groove, along with Rick playing some wah lines and Gil giving like a heavy vocal. Breaks into the catchy chorus. Seems like Gil is giving kind of more introspective driven song here, kind of about like the present, the society and all that kind of thing. Kind of like what Rick usually does. It's got a great half. It's got like a half wah guitar solo and a regular style solo in the middle. It's got some cool guitar accompaniment on the song. Sets the tone. It's got the song ends with like the same kind of things it started with, and you can hear a Valley Girl at the end of it. I thought that was kind of cool. But we get World of Fantasy as the next track. Another Triumph's awesome ballads. Starts off with some dramatic acoustic guitar lines from Rick before another guitar joins in and his great vocal comes in. The band comes in. This song in great form, laying down a straightforward beat for background behind Rick's great power chord and emotional vocal. Continues this pattern for the chorus with some keyboard work backing up and pretty cool backing vocals breaking into the fold. Rick's voice really is a great match for songs in this style, I think. He always knows how to bring the emotion out. And the chorus section breaks into a very emotion-filled lead break before Rick comes back in for the bridge section and another pre-chorus. It's got pretty cool creative songwriting to me, and one of my favorites probably on this album for sure. Got a minor prelude after that, which the title kind of speaks for itself on this one. Rick showing off more of his kind of flamenco stylings, you know. Then we get All the Way, and this I said this song hits the listener like a sledgehammer with a riff, and Rick's very determined, powerful vocal in this tune, taking control right from the start. It's a great heavy rocker with Rick really showing off his talents. Tasty solo, and a very energetic rhythm section on this track. I like Mike's bass lines on this song, and the chorus is pretty cool. I love the bridge section of the song too. Breaks into my favorite solo. That's probably my favorite solo from Rick on this record. It's pretty speedy and fast. Breaks into the chorus again till the fade. And song had pretty big chart success, but it kind of fell off with the fans, and it never ended up on any of the compilations or the best ofs or anything like that. And then we get to Battle Cry, which is mid-tempo groove kind of with Gil showing off some vocal talents. Kind of reminds me of earlier albums in the change from the rocking verses to the smooth acoustic tinges of the pre-chorus. I said it reminds me of Styx writing a little bit in this particular song. Love the chorus of the song. Kind of gives me a feel from earlier albums too. Some guitar theatrics from Rick. And then you get an awesome, emotionally filled solo. Kind of reminds me also of Gil's version. It's like Fight the Good Fight if it was like for Gil, kind of what it reminds me of. And then Side 1 Strong. Then we get Overture Processional, which, you get some crowd noise. And then some glass breaking and a barrage of synths. And the band comes in strong here, setting a kind of epic feel for the song. Kind of like marching off the war before the big battle. And Gil's playing some like timpani drums, kind of to feel that kind of emotion there. Then we get the title song, "And Never Surrender," which is the album's centerpiece to me. It's like a call to action for anyone struggling in life with a clear message in the song's title. I read Rick wrote this tune with his younger brother in mind, who was dealing with a tough situation in life, I guess, at the time. The song has a very upbeat style verse, another epic crowd-worthy sing-along chorus that really gives the positive triumph vibe, that they were all about. And Rick shows off his higher vocal register in the song in certain parts as well. Song breaks into a synth-heavy part, kind of harking back to progressive elements from past albums. There's a bridge section with a great solo from Rick filled with dynamic range. It leads us right into what was that? To the song's return of what great familiar chorus that this song has. A great song filled with different sections, enough to keep anyone interested, I said. And then we get When the Lights Go Down, which has got some great blues slide guitar. Breaks into that awesome riff. Kind of like the Fool for Your Love of this album to me. Gil finally singing about his favorite topic I wrote, rock and roll. Gives a great gritty vocal on this hard rocker, especially on the chorus. It's one of those songs that you can't help but tap your foot to when it comes on. I mean, it's got a killer groove to it. It's got some great passion-filled Gil vocals. Kind of another call to arms to rock and roll kind of thing, like Allied Forces. Rick's solo on here is pretty short but memorable. And Mike and Gil giving a great stop-start rhythm for more Rick soloing before Gil comes back with his signature scream. He's always got to have one on an album. It's pretty good. And then it fades back into that swampy acoustic intro again to end off. Then we get Writing on the Wall. This is kind of like another one of Rick's popular rock songs. Song shows off another side of the band's songwriting style. It's got a nice chugging riff in it. Some nice acoustic background all the way throughout the track. I love the chorus with the big backing vocals behind Rick. It's got a almost power pop style rock song. And it kind of reminds me of Blinding Light Show with the ending with the lightning crash, kind of ending it off. Then you get Epilogue Resolution, which is like kind of jazz blues styled piece from Rick, showing off his great talents as a multifaceted player, because he can play in a wide range and array of styles. And, he'd continue to do that well into his solo career. And I like how this and Overture kind of bookend the side, giving like almost like this is one whole kind of piece, even though it's not. Kind of gives off that kind of thing. And yeah, this is the stuff I really fell in love with when I first got into Triumph and became a fan. This one, Allied Forces and Thunder 7 are all pretty high up there for me, and they rate pretty highly up there for me. I would say maybe there's a couple too many instrumental interlude songs, but they really do fit nicely into the pacing of the album. And I'd rate it pretty highly. I mean, I gave it a 8.5. What I'm going to go with. Rated pretty highly. I mean, I gave it a. Yeah, I gave it an 8.5. Yep. But yeah, okay. I guess I'll go into Narnia here, which for us to do come up. So we got Carl Johan Grimmark and Christian Leljegren. I might have butchered them names. Pretty sure they're Swedish band. It's got some guest musicians. Jacob Aaron, who later played bass in Narnia, and Jan Stark, who did some guitar solos on this album, and Mart Halick on violin, which he's only on one track, I believe. But this album was released on the Japanese-based Pony Crayon record label. I thought that was interesting. I've never heard that label name before. But I'll get into the tracks here. Break the Chains album. Well, the album starts with some great kind of unison guitar and keyboard lines. And I'm going to mention Yngwie Malmsteen quite a bit in my review of this. Kind of, you'll find all over this album kind of a lot of Yngwie worship to me. They're kind of more constructed and dense than some of Yngwie solos. They don't go on for 15 minutes, but the rhythm section kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. With it just being two guys most of the time, so they rely on a drum machine, and it really shows on certain parts of the album. I was reading a review on here on the internet a little bit. And some of the guys were talking about like the cymbals and stuff. You can really tell that it's not a person playing those, but it's got some moments. I like the last heavier section of the song. CJ doing some cool guitar theatric parts. I seen Ashley said he gave it a 7 out of 10. That's pretty cool. So he found something to like there. And then we get No More Shadows from the Past. This one kind of starts out reminding me of something of Trilogy or Odyssey, kind of like keeping with Malmsteen thing. It's got some cool guitar solos, pretty catchy chorus, but this one doesn't do too much for me outside of that. It's got a pretty cool double bass outro. I like that with the chorus returning. Then we get the return of Aslan, which is I was going to switch my background. I forgot. Whenever it loads, the lion Aslan is from that guy right there. He's from Chronicles of Narnia books. But they named that song after him, and it's probably my favorite on this album. Guys really show off their like Yngwie and Rainbow. I hear a lot of Rainbow in a little bit of this. First section sounds like could have came out of like Gates of Babylon or something. It's got that same kind of like Egyptian feel to it. It's got some cool melodic unison lead lines before we shift up an octave for more dynamics. Keyboards really shine on the song, not overstaying their welcome like they do on some of the rest of the album for me. It's got some great soloing on the song. Whoever's doing the solo, Carl or Jan, I'm not sure. It's got a nice acoustic section in the middle. They get some sweet picking lines to close out. Then we get to Heavenly Love, which I noticed he's playing like some Beethoven Für Elise at the start of it. Now, I like Christian's vocal on here. It's got some nice soloing, but not much else to excite me on this one. I seen another review that said this is kind of like a copy of Yngwie's song Dreaming, which it is kind of modeled after that. It ends with the acoustic guitar and stuff. Okay track. And then we get Time of Change. Got some keyboard work start this track out. Then there's some guitar effects behind it. Kind of gives a creepy vibe at the start. Breaks into a heavy chugging guitar riff and breaks into a short double bass up tempo section before the verses begin. It's got a catchy chorus that shows CJ's rhythm guitar skills more than lead. And I think the electric drums kind of work pretty good on this tune. I like the solo break in the song. Kind of works behind the band's slower groove on this one. And then we get to the title track, which is The Awakening. It's kind of my other favorite of the album, with a heavier, slower groove and some cool vocal lines from Christian. Almost gives off a power metal vibe in the song with the epic nature of the track. Keeps that cool, slow groove into a bridge section before the guitar solo, which really shows off that short but consistent style I talked about earlier. Towards the end of the solo, too, it has a spoken vocal part, which keeps in that power metal styling as well. It's a pretty cool track. Yeah, people talking about Triumph. L says 7 isn't bad for a band not too familiar. So, yeah, we'll get into the next track, which was where was it? Touch From You. This one starts with some shredding and keyboard accompaniment before it goes into a solo. Oh no, I talked about Touch From You. I'm on Silent of the Time. The song is the ender. Kind of starts differently from the rest of the album with some of Matt's violin bursting into the heavier riff to start the verses up. I thought that was cool. The song also gives that epic feel of the title song with that heavier mid-tempo style of song, and Christian gives a good vocal, I think. I think they could have cut some of the ending off of this song because I think it's about 7.5 or almost 8 minutes. It's got a cool, like, I call it a noodle fest full of notes solo at the middle section with the tempo getting a little faster, and the album's one big keyboard break following it. and ends with some violin returning. I said keep it at 5 minutes or so. It'd make a pretty cool track in my eyes. And there is a track I found on the. Well, yeah, who doesn't love noodles? I mean, come on. But there is a track that they recorded in 1990. I'm not sure if this was one of the bands that the guys were in before, but they counted on the Narnia on the release, the first release. It's called "Let Me Rest in Your Arms." It was issued on the Pony Crayon version of the album. I think it's a serviceable song that would have fit on the album, but you got a riff that kind of reminds me of "Break the Chains" from the start of the album. But it's an okay track. It's nothing that you need to really seek out, unless you want to hear all this, I said this album kind of is a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I think what I do like on here, though, is pretty good and kind of in that Rising Force style of music, kind of for fans of neoclassical metal stuff. And yeah, Ernesto's talking about the lyrics. I didn't really get into too many of the lyrics. It's not really my thing, Does anyone know how many band members they have when they play live? Not entirely sure, Mark. I wrote down, well, the bass player guy who's on this album came into Narnia. There's at least 3, and I'm sure they got a drummer live. I'd say there's probably 5 at least. That's a good question. I should have looked it up. But yeah, it's kind of got that progressive metal, kind of like Camelot Symphony X a little bit. Just not like as bombastic, has its moments. Kind of the downsides though are the electronic drums really giving little creativity in the music, and it goes into copycat territory sometimes with some of the licks and stuff. But it's not something I listen to every day. But like I said, when going to a couple tracks stand above the others, I gave it a 6. I was looking at 2-minute noodles as a cheap meal. Ashley knows all about it. But yeah, I guess that's my review for this album, which I didn't even show off. And I actually have the inner sleeve this time, unlike with Allied Forces. And Narnia. So yeah, I guess I'll probably close this out because I don't think Sydney's going to come on the screen with me because it's kind of being all wonky today. But I'm glad we could get this in. At least it's actually kind of working this time.
And it's cutting out again, isn't it? Yeah, so next week will be, well, not next week, actually, this weekend, I should say. Saturday, we'll be doing Thunder 7. And after that, we'll be doing Child of the Novelty. And then on Sunday, we'll be doing our second episode of our State to State show, which is the Arkansas, a band called Hell Camino, and a band called Ashbury from Arizona. So that'll be so that's 6 albums total between those 2 bands, so that'll be fun. The again, as always, though, you can go on the homepage and listen to those albums by those 2 bands. They're all there. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to watch this, and see you on the weekend.